Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and honestly completely shatter the misconception that libraries are just these passive, dusty rooms meant for storing old books. Today, we're exploring Chapter 1 of Library Management, specifically focusing on collection development and its management. Because if you think building a library is just about, buying books and putting them on shelves, well, you're in for a really fascinating surprise. We're going to uncover the intense, completely invisible infrastructure that actually powers the knowledge we consume every day.
We absolutely have to start with this paradigm shift. The old view of a library? It was just a static repository, basically a passive storehouse of inherited texts where things just went to sit indefinitely. But the new view is that it's a dynamic, living ecosystem. That means the library breathes, it adapts, and it evolves based exactly on what you are studying or researching right now. And moving from that passive storehouse to an active ecosystem, that's a strict strategic requirement. It demands really robust policies, rigorous physical maintenance, and incredibly precise accountability to make sure the collection actually serves its community.
So, to understand this complete transformation, we are going to follow the life cycle of a document through 6 precise phases today: the living ecosystem, conception, judgment, habitat, the audit, and finally, the accountability triangle.
Starting with Section 1, the living ecosystem.
Think of this entire process as the master architectural blueprint for knowledge. The journey of any document goes through 4 massive distinct phases before it ever reaches your hands. Phase 1 is its conception, which happens via a highly strategic policy. Phase 2 is the rigorous judgment of selection criteria, basically where its worth is tested. Phase 3 is its physical habitat, involving methodical stack maintenance just to keep it accessible. And finally, Phase 4 is the ultimate reality check of the audit, using comprehensive stock verification against a master list. Every single item in a modern collection goes through this exact unforgiving gauntlet.
Moving to Section 2, Conception, the policy blueprint.
Now, what's really interesting about the conception phase is that every single book begins as a strategic rule. The acquisition policy is essentially the ultimate guidebook governing the entire library. It features expert design, meaning it's drafted meticulously by subject specialists and academic committees who truly understand the precise needs of the institution. It also establishes strict procedural dictates for exactly how things are bought, exchanged, or even gifted. But crucially, and this is key, it is a living document. It's never static. When a policy becomes irrelevant to shifting user needs or, say, new fields of study emerge, this policy gets ruthlessly rebuilt to reflect the current reality.
And this builds into a continuous feedback loop. Collection development isn't just a straight line from A to B. It's a moving engine of interlocking gears. It starts with deep user analysis, which feeds directly into those selection policies, driving the actual acquisition of materials and leveraging vital resource sharing, like interlibrary loans. And it all ends with weeding. Yes, weeding. The scientific, deliberate process of discarding unused, outdated, or damaged stock is literally just as important as buying new ones. Clearing out the old makes way for the new, and the results of this weeding process feed right back in to future user analysis all over again.
Which brings us to Section 3, Judgment, the selection funnel. The absolutely crucial point here is that building a collection involves immense stakes. Curators are literally gatekeeping authentic knowledge from a massive, completely overwhelming sea of modern publications. And if they fail, the consequences are severe. Just imagine an outdated, factually incorrect medical text slipping through into a university curriculum, or a totally debunked historical text being presented as primary source material. To prevent that nightmare, curators must avoid the massive institutional risk of acquiring inauthentic, misleading, or inaccurate data that could misinform an entire academic body. So to mitigate that high-stakes risk, documents pass through a strict evaluation filter funnel. It's a 3-tier gauntlet. First, Tier 1 checks content integrity. Is the author a legitimate authority? Is the data demonstrably accurate? Next, Tier 2 checks target fit. Does the vocabulary actually match the user? Is it right for the specific university syllabus? And finally, Tier 3 checks format and tech. Is the digital file type actually compatible with the institution's network? Does the multimedia function properly? Only after surviving all 3 of those tiers does a document finally become selected.
On to Section 4, Habitat, physical stack mechanics.
Once a document survives that intense judgment, it enters Phase 3, its physical habitat. And here, the entire operational focus shifts dramatically. We move from intellectual curation to physical preservation and spatial logic. Books are arranged strictly by call number. So the next time you jot down a call number to find a book, just remember that you are utilizing the endpoint of a massive spatial logic system. It exists so that after all that careful selection and vetting, you can actually navigate the physical space and reliably locate the specific knowledge you need.
And there's actually a precise, high-stakes science to simply putting a book on a shelf. Sure, you have your standard dues, like ensuring perfectly vertical spines and committing to the immediate repair of minor damages, but the don'ts? They're kinda shocking. Just leaving a book leaning diagonally causes permanent structural bending to the spine over time. Even worse, and this is wild, shelving a book spine up will actually cause the heavy text block to literally rip itself away from its covers just due to gravity. The physical preservation in this habitat is serious, meticulous business.
Section 5. The audit. Ensuring accountability.
Accountability is the final step in the document lifecycle. It's an active, operational reality check that requires two distinct, contrasting tools. On one side, we have stock verification. This is the intensely physical, active audit of the stacks, checking what is literally sitting on the shelves today. On the flip side, we have the shelf list. The shelf list is the theoretical master map. It's arranged in the exact sequence of call numbers, and it details exactly where every single item in the entire library should be at any given moment.
Now you might be wondering what happens when items are missing. Amazingly, the general financial rules, specifically Rule 194, allow a reasonable loss of 5 volumes per 1,000 issued or consulted per year. The system actually accepts this tiny fraction of loss as the necessary expected cost of providing open access to readers. They accept a little loss so that we have the ultimate freedom to browse, pull books down, and explore without everything being locked behind glass doors. Exceptional investigations are only triggered for highly valuable rare books or massive systemic discrepancies. To conduct this massive audit, the industry really had to evolve. We completely abandoned the old accession number approach. Why? Because it was agonizingly slow, highly error-prone, and required heavy physical handling of every single book just to check its inside cover. Instead, modern libraries moved to lightning-fast, highly accurate ICT and RFID technology. And this was a total game changer because it requires absolutely zero physical handling of the delicate materials.
Today, an ICT audit uses a data scanner that communicates invisibly with an RFID microchip embedded directly inside the book. Data is downloaded instantly into library automation software. A librarian can literally just walk down an aisle and entire shelves are scanned perfectly in a matter of seconds. It generates a final loss and inventory record without a human hand ever touching a single spine. The efficiency and protection of the physical assets here are just absolutely incredible.
Finally, Section 6, the accountability triangle. So the whole operation locks into place as this perfect triangle of accountability. Node A is the physical reality. That's the rigorous stack maintenance dictating how and where the book actually sits in the real world. Node B is the theoretical map, the shelf list documenting where it should sit. And Node C is the governing law, the collection policy dictating exactly why it was ever acquired in the first place. The active force of stock verification sits right in the middle, constantly pulling all three of these nodes into perfect alignment. All of this intense, invisible infrastructure exists for one overarching purpose: to transform static, dusty archives into a seamless, high-value, dynamic experience for the user. Library management is absolutely not the passive storage of text. It is the active, strategic curation of knowledge designed to propel learning forward. It really leaves you wondering, doesn't it, as we navigate this increasingly digital world, just how much hidden, meticulously designed physical infrastructure is secretly supporting the knowledge you consume every single day. I really hope this radically changes the way you look at a library shelf next time you visit one. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.